We've not printed today's timetable because the trust is £20 million in debt, so we're saving money on paper, says Dr Lang 3 years earlier at my new starter induction. Nightingale Hospital's clinical director is a tall, shaven-headed man in a sharp suit with the natural warmth of an ice pop. The news reports are true, he continues, standing in front of a PowerPoint presentation featuring our schedule. The NHS is in crisis, there's a mental health epidemic, and national shortage of beds, so getting one is harder than ever. Morale is low, and in real terms, doctors' salaries continue to plummet. But welcome. For my first day in psychiatry, I'm wearing the same lucky red tie my parents bought me for my medical school interview. I somehow got in, despite at one point referring to cancer as a growth industry, and when asked how I was with blood, I overshot my enthusiasm and said I was really looking forward to working with bodily fluids. As a junior doctor, I had disregarded colleagues in other specialities who told me that psychiatrists weren't proper doctors. Once, I was first at the scene of a cardiac arrest in hospital and luckily managed to resuscitate the patient. Being the first one at a cardiac arrest is like being the first one on the dance floor at a wedding. Someone's got to get it started, but you'd prefer it wasn't you. After the patient was whisked away to intensive care, my medical consultant squeezed my shoulder affectionately and said, "Shame you're going into psych, really, Benji. It's a waste of a perfectly good doctor." I even ignored my own family. My paternal grandmother is very close to my mum, and when I told her I wanted to take a slightly similar path, not into psychology but into psychiatry, my granny shook her head and said, "How can you have any faith in that nonsense when your mum is the way she is?" I paid attention to none of it, and now here I am with my fellow new psychiatry trainees, probably all wondering if we've made the right choice. Ahead of us at this induction stretch 9 hours of NHS box-ticking exercises. First, we pose for photos to go on our ID badges, which a mini printer spits out. Also, on the plastic cards, the Trust boasts its current CQC, Care Quality Commission rating of average, to reassure patients that they're in satisfactory hands. A coffee break allows us newbies to mingle. I introduce myself to a plummy blonde called Beatrice. "Benji," she says. "Weird name for a person. Mum used to have a golden retriever called that." We compare war stories from our last 2 years working as foundation year doctors and what brought us into medicine. I spin my polished tale of the rough diamond son of a creative child psychologist mother and a dad who restored our family home single-handed, who grew up in rural Northumberland with just sheep for neighbours and got into medical school against all the odds. If you discount the fact that my grandpa paid for me to go to private school when I was 14, after I got a police caution for shoplifting. A sports bag full of Newcastle United football figurines, if you're wondering. And that my dad went over the impossible practice paper with me that the school had sent ahead of the exam. And how, due to an administrative error, they hadn't actually sent me the practice paper, but the exam paper itself. After sitting it, I asked my dad if we should tell the school. "Let's not," he said. So we kept quiet and I got in. Still only into a low set though, despite having seen all the questions beforehand. We returned to our seats for the final session before lunch, Prevention and Management of Violence and Aggression Training, otherwise known as judo. "These are self-defense techniques you may need to use with patients," Dr Lang tells us. "Loose-fitting clothing is best, as I once ripped my work trousers body-slamming Dr Shem, and that was before the training started." I bet he cracks that joke every year. He introduces us to Keith, a no-nonsense middle-aged ex-policeman. We stack away the chairs, kick off our shoes and stand in a semicircle around him like children about to go on a bouncy castle. Keith points at my tie. "Only wear that if you want to get throttled," he says. I remove it, resisting the temptation to tie it around my head like Rambo and stuff it in my pocket. "What about the ID badges?" one of the others asks. "They're strangle-proof," Keith says nonchalantly, "so if a patient grabs your NHS lanyard, the release clip snaps instead of your neck."